Here we are, staring at something that has troubled spiritual men and women for thousands of years. This battle with lust. And the strange thing is, the more awake you become, the more conscious of the divine, the fiercer this battle seems to grow. Why is that? Why should the person who seeks God most earnestly be the very one who wrestles most deeply with desire? There's a belief that the spiritual path is about erasing all these earthly desires, that to become enlightened is to float above the messy business of being human. But what if it's exactly the opposite? What if awakening your consciousness actually turns up the volume on your most human impulses, especially this secret struggle with lust? If you've ever felt like a spiritual failure because of these intense desires, you're not alone. And I must warn you, this isn't the comfortable sermon you might expect. The reason this happens is perhaps the greatest paradox of the journey. This struggle is not a sign that you're failing. It's often a sign you're finally waking up enough to feel the full, untamed force of life itself. And once you understand it, that very struggle can become the key to a deeper freedom. The first thing to understand is this: when you awaken spiritually, when you begin to see life as it truly is, you don't become less human. You become more human. You become more aware of everything. The divine, yes, but also the earthly, the sacred and the profane, the angelic and the animal. Think of it this way: before awakening, you were like a person walking through life half asleep. Your senses were dulled, but awakening is like turning up the volume on everything. Suddenly you hear the music more clearly, but you also hear the jarring, uncomfortable noises too. In the same way, the spiritually awake person develops a kind of spiritual sensitivity that makes them feel the full force of being human more acutely than those operating at lower levels of consciousness. The same sensitivity that lets you feel God's presence also makes you more aware of the body's yearnings. This heightened awareness creates a paradox. The very gifts that make someone spiritually powerful also make them more vulnerable. Before awakening, lust might have been a background hum. Now, with the volume of your awareness turned all the way up, that hum can become a roar. It's not that the desire is new, it's that you are finally present enough to feel its true power. Now let's look at the second reason, and this one is painful to admit. Those who are spiritually awake often find themselves alone, not because they're better than others, but because they see things differently. The usual conversations, the gossip, can start to feel hollow, and so they drift away from the crowd. This creates a profound and painful form of isolation. This loneliness is not just mental, it is visceral. The human animal within you still cries out for contact, for warmth, for the simple feeling of being held. And in this state of isolation, lust can present itself as a counterfeit solution. It promises a moment of connection, a fleeting escape. It's a powerful temptation because it seems to offer a remedy for that deep ache, the act of merging, even for a moment. Do you see the trap? The very path that leads you to truth can also lead you into a profound loneliness, and the human in you cries out for a quick fix. The third reason is that as your consciousness expands, it's like turning on a light in a basement you've kept locked your entire life. Suddenly, you can see everything that's been stored down there. All the old pain rises to the surface: the abandonment, the shame, the terror of being unloved. These are the deep wounds most people spend their lives successfully avoiding. But for the spiritually awake, avoidance is no longer an option. In this state of heightened vulnerability, lust can function as a powerful, temporary anesthetic. It offers a momentary distraction from the gnawing pain of your own history. But it's a lie. Lust doesn't heal wounds, it just covers them up for a moment, like putting a bandage on a festering sore. And the truly maddening part is that you can often see this entire cycle playing out in real time. You see the wound, you see the desire rising to cover it, and you anticipate the shame that will follow. Seeing the mechanism doesn't automatically grant you the power to stop it. This is not a sign of weakness. It is the difficult, messy work of bringing the unconscious into the light. This leads us to the most profound paradox of all. The very gifts that make you spiritually powerful are the same ones that make you so intensely vulnerable. Your heightened sensitivity allows you to perceive the divine, but it also means you feel the raw, magnetic pull of earthly forms with shocking intensity. You cannot simply shut these feelings down. To do so would be to deny the very humanity your spiritual practice has illuminated. As the philosopher Alan Watt T.S. often pointed out, Many traditions have made a grave error in framing the body and its desires as an enemy to be conquered. They created a false war between spirit and flesh. Suppression is not transcendence, it is fear dressed as virtue. The spiritually awake struggle with lust not because they are less spiritual, but because they are more embodied. They are committed to integrating all dimensions of their being, the sacred and the profane, the spirit and the flesh. So what do we do with all this? If both indulging desire and suppressing it lead to suffering, where do we turn? Both are forms of violence against the self. Indulging it leads to shame and emptiness. Suppressing it is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It will eventually explode to the surface. Path forward is a razor's edge, a middle way that requires extraordinary consciousness. It is the practice of being fully present with the energy of desire without judgment and without being compelled by it. It means you stop fighting it. You allow yourself to feel the raw fire of lust in your body, to observe it as pure energy. This is not a passive act. It is a radical act of awareness. You become the vast, unchanging sky, and you allow the storm of desire to pass through without identifying with it. When you can hold this space, a profound reframe becomes possible. You begin to understand that at its root, every desire for union is the soul's desire to return to wholeness. From this perspective, the struggle with lust is no longer a failure. It becomes an asterisk initiation asterisk. It is the ancient test. When the fire of desire meets the light of awareness, a sacred transformation can occur. Lust, when fully seen, can be transmuted. Its energy can become fuel for creativity, devotion, and purpose. This journey of integration is not abstract. It requires practice. First, we stop pretending the battle doesn't exist. We stop acting as if spiritual people are supposed to float above all this. The flesh is real. Desire is real. Second, we stop fighting alone. Isolation is what feeds the beast of lust. This struggle thrives in secrecy. When we can find even one other person to be honest with, someone who won't judge, the power of lust begins to break. Third, we attend to the underlying wounds. Instead of using lust to medicate loneliness, we learn to sit with the loneliness itself. Instead of running from old rejections, we turn toward that pain with mercy. This is the heart of shadow work. It is painful, but it is the only path that truly heals. Finally, we continue to cultivate our witness consciousness. Remember, you are not the struggle. You are the awareness observing the struggle. The desires may still come and go like clouds, but you remain the sky, spacious and free. The great paradox is that your struggle with lust does not distance you from the divine. It is a sacred part of your journey toward it. You do not struggle because you are weak. You struggle because you are finally awake enough to feel the full, raw force of your own humanity. There is no shame in this. The path is not to extinguish this fire, but to learn to dance with it, to transform its raw energy into compassion and a deeper connection to life itself. Trust the part of you that yearns for the light, but also have compassion for the part of you still grappling with the dark. They are two hands of the same intelligence, shaping you into the whole and integrated being you were always meant to become. The journey of integrating the shadow is often a silent one. I invite you to break that silence. Share an insight in the comments below, and let's build a community that understands this courageous path.